Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel, where we break down the biggest stories in sports, entertainment, and culture. Now, if you've been scrolling through your feed and feel like there's too much drama to keep up with, don't worry. I got you covered. Today, we're talking about Kyrie Irving calling out media bias and racism, Charles Barkley losing his sneaker deal with Nike, Russell Simmons' legal battle pulling Oprah into the mix. Who would have thought it? Jay-Z's rumored fallout with Diddy. Stick around for that one. And Miami's renaming streets after hip-hop icons. I know, sound like a lot. Trust me, it's all connected in ways you might not expect it. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with Kyrie Irving. You know Kyrie Irving is one of the most talented basketball players in the NBA and also one of the most outspoken. But recently he went live on social media to air out some frustration about how athletes, especially black athletes, are treated by the media. He said something like, we got to stop letting people outside our culture tell us what's right and wrong. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Kyrie wasn't just talking about reporters or analysts. He was calling out former players who criticize young athletes instead of supporting them. And, to a certain degree, you could say Kyrie Irving got a point. But at the same time, people are questioning if Kyrie's the right guy to lead this conversation. Why? Check this out. Well, if you look at history, his story, as you would say, you will see him and LeBron, or LeBron and Kyrie, they're in the same boat. What do I mean? Well, Kyrie and LeBron decide to speak on the same topics roughly at the same time, meaning they're working together, in my opinion. You have LeBron James on the Pat McAfee show, and then you got Kyrie on Twitch. But then I saw this article by Vibe. The article was Kyrie Irving calls bigoted reasoning behind racism the dumbest ish he's ever heard. Do you realize how stupid that is? Now, in this article, they start off by doing something that I haven't really seen done. And that was, they addressed Kyrie Irving as the Australian-born hooper shared his thoughts on race relations within society, both past and present, delivering a passionate rebuke of racial injustice and historical oppression of black people. Right out the top, shout out to For No Fame. He kind of pointed this out, but you should really go check out some of his drops on his channel. You'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, they're in the same boat. And LeBron and Kyrie, right? And their Vibe is starting to. Vibe did something that I haven't seen done. It's almost like they're saying, look at this Australian-born hooper talk about racism. Now, if you remember, this is a side note and why I say him and LeBron are in the same boat. You remember about 9 years ago, this particular series dropped. And I knew then, well, they knew what we all knew then. So if The Simpsons predicts the future and the Boondocks predict the future, then I would definitely say that the Game of Zones pretty much revealed the truth and predict the future. They confirmed some things, like I said, that we already knew, especially this part. Now that's Kevin Love and who? LeBron. Look at that. They also gave us an insight into what was going on back then. You see LeBron and Dwayne Wade. All right, so let's connect the first dot, right? LeBron and Kyrie. Well, we know LeBron has kind of put himself in a situation with the slogan, ain't no party like a Diddy party. I mean, he pretty much did that, right? Now, in the first article, Kyrie was also saying something to the effect of, don't even get me started on what people are saying about athletes all the time. He go on to say, especially basketball players, they think we're dumb-ass-ish, Irving said. They think we don't have a real backbone when it comes to beliefs or standing for people that need us. He said they feel like we don't have any backbone. You have politicians that call us out all the time because they're like, just shut up and dribble. Just do this, just do that. Okay, that's your criticism. But how am I supposed to make a dent in the world if I'm feeling suppressed? That was what Kyrie Irving was saying, right? And the next thing I know, like I started noticing how they were picking out certain things that he said out of this 4-hour scream that he did. And it made me start to think, what are they trying to say? Well, some folks are digging up his past appearances at high-profile parties hosted by people like none other than Diddy. Events that are being scrutinized for their own controversy. And if you didn't know, now you know. Right? So here's the question. Is Kyrie standing up for what's right, or is he just adding fuel to the fire? Or maybe it's both. Let me know what you think. Does Kyrie has a valid point here, or is he risking his credibility because at this point he hasn't spoken up for Diddy? And you see, he was at the parties. He's also a fan of making the band, and he's been around Diddy for years, according to these articles that are now resurfacing. So let me know what you think. Do you think he's adding fuel to the fire, like I said, or you think he pretty much his time is up, and this is a sign that they coming for him? Let me know. We gonna switch gears and start talking about Charles Barkley. Barkley. All right. Y'all remember those iconic Air CB 34s sneakers from back in the day? Everybody remember you the Godzilla Claw. That's where they all came from. Well, Nike was supposed to re-release these this year, but they pulled a plug on it at the last minute. Check this out. For no official explanation. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. You hear me? Now here's where it gets kind of, suspect, or as the young folks say, sus. This happened right about the time that, Charles had announced during March Madness that he no longer was going to support the Democratic Party. Now keep in mind, this is all, as much as we don't want to admit this, politics is in it. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie Irving supported the Blue Party. He was a big fan of Obama. We all know LeBron James was a big fan of Obama. Doesn't like Trump, at war with Trump right now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these so-called black celebrities took it upon themselves to speak out against, the current president at the time. Right? Now, back to Charles Barkley. Well, we know Charles Barkley switched parties. He went from a Democratic Party, now he's an independent. And that's just like saying, that's just like losing one of your influencers. You get what I'm saying? Now, is this coincidence? Maybe, but you got to think about it. Nike is a global brand that thrives on staying safe. Right, now, they rather be with the people than against the people, so to speak. And Barkley has always been known for speaking his mind without holding back. Round mouth, I'm not a role model. Your parents need to be your kids' role model. And I respect the Charles for that. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, he say the craziest things at times, but that's Charles. And we make excuses for Charles, but Charles probably bit off more than he can chew. But who knows? Could Nike have seen his political shift as a risk to their image? Now, let's not forget, Nike is a hurdle for shoe drops right now. You know what I mean? They got the Kobe releases coming up, which I read somewhere that Bronny dropped about 39 to 40 points in them joints. Deion Sanders collection coming out. Total mess what's going on down there in Colorado. I don't know if y'all really tracking it, but not only is Deion, he just got that re-up with Colorado from what I understand. But, when he left that Bible Belt, which was Mississippi, and he took his beliefs and everything to Colorado, y'all know them, them religious, they ain't religious like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't appreciate that. And so he been catching wind by that. Plus, I read somebody's boy Shiloh not paying his bills, which is sad. Kind of make you wonder where the money going. But digressing. Then you got Ken Griffey Jr., the Mariners inspired kicks lineup. That's coming out. Plus, Jordan always dropping some, he always got some shoes coming out. And so cutting Barkley probably wouldn't hurt the bottom line. But what does it mean for him? Imagine being one of the most recognizable voices in sports and realizing your platform might be shrinking because you don't fit into corporate expectations anymore. Now, so what do you think about all this? Was this business as usual for Nike, or was there something deeper going on? Shout out, holla at your boy. Now let's talk about Russell Simmons and Oprah Winfrey. Two names you probably never expect to hear in the same sentence like this. Or maybe you did, but maybe you didn't. But here's the deal. This lady by the name of Drew Dixon. If you don't know who Drew Dixon is, she's the same woman that had a case against L.A. Reid that has been allowed to move forward. She originally came as a Jane Doe and all this, and she revealed herself. And basically, she was a former Def Jam executive who accused Russell of assault back in 1995. Everything from the paper. Now she's suing him for defamation because he publicly denied her claims. Now, but wait, now here's where it gets a little messy. Dixon subpoenaed Oprah, or OWN, for evidence related to her drop documentary about Simmons. Now, if you remember, Oprah was originally backing Dixon, but pulled out of her project last minute, saying there was some inconsistencies in the allegations. So here's where we are, people. We are all wondering if Oprah stepped away because she found cracks in Dixon's story, or was she pressured, by powerful figures behind the scenes to protect Russell's reputation. Now, let me tell you, we all know she is connected to everybody, and everybody, taking some L's. And let me tell you, this isn't just about one case. This is about how power works in Hollywood, right? Now, what do you think? Is this the fight for justice, or is this another example of a big name protecting each other, like we about to get into next? All right, switching gears. Jay-Z and Diddy, two legends who have been running hip-hop for about a decade, over a little bit over a decade. And to some people, how they see it. But things between them, then kind of, been kind of off lately, and, we all know why. And, you go back to last year, rumors started flying that Jay-Z was distancing himself from Diddy because of all the allegations piling up against him. And, there was a couple articles out there saying that, Jay-Z was planning on throwing Diddy under the bus. You've even got this most recent allegation that then came up that implicated, I think, LeBron James, Beyonce, Jay. It was supposed to be a whole bunch of people at this particular event where this man was taken advantage of, right? So you still have this dark cloud that continues to engulf everybody that then pretty much had their hands, that pretty much, was connected to Diddy. There was a moment, when, Jay-Z lawyer came out and said they weren't cool like that. Nah, man, they was just business partners or whatever. Low key behind the scenes, he pulled probably one of the shrewdest moves I've ever seen, right? Evidential proof, like he put it out there. That was it. And what I'm talking about is Jay-Z gifted custom wallabies to his inner circle, the shoes. And there was Emory Jones, Ty Smith, a bunch of people, Perez, but Diddy didn't get a pay. Petty? Maybe also kind of telling. Now, here's another layer to this. Jay-Z reportedly filed that grievances against Tony Busby. And the lawyer that, that's pretty much got these cases against Diddy. And as I don't know if y'all keeping up, but these cases are falling off because witnesses are not willing to come forward, right? And so these a lot of civil cases just dropping, which makes people wonder, is Jay quietly separating himself from all the drama at the same time, throwing his man an olive branch by putting a little stain on the lawyer? So, there's a lot. So what do you think? Y'all let me know. Is Jay-Z's making a smart business move by keeping his distance from Diddy, or is it just a sign of loyalty doesn't mean much when you got billions on the line? You know what I'm saying? Let me know. All right, welcome to Miami. Hey, man, I ain't see Will Smith get a script, but we ain't going to get into all that right now. We're going to go ahead. Let's wrap this up. Finally, man, we're going to head down to Miami-Dade County, where they're renaming streets after hip-hop songs and artists in Liberty City. Now, I want to highlight for No Fame and a couple of content creators out there. Hip-hop is kind of on life support right now. It's been on life support for a while. Nas made a song about it. People write about their infatuation with the music and how it's losing its exuberance and richness and soul and understanding and whatever you want to call it. And it looks like in today's society that all the so-called rappers and people who glorify it are taking some serious L's. Either they're in prison, dead, or they wrapped up in some type of legal controversy that's just ciphering those millions, and it's looking bad, right? Now, on one hand, you got something like this going on. You got Liberty City down there in Miami-Dade County, neighborhood with, cultural roots, but also some serious challenges. Now, on one hand, you may think, this renaming is dope. You got streets like Martin Luther King Boulevard. You got Medgar Evers, John F. Kennedy, Abraham. You got all these streets that are named after so many different people, right? And now you have streets between Northwest 18th Avenue and Northwest 19th Avenue. Their streets going to be called What's My Name, or City Girl Streets, or Soul Ties, Born and Raised, Big Money, Baller Street, and We the Best Tariff. And believe it or not, Diddy got a street. Yeah, it's called Bad Boys and Bad Boy Streets on Northwest 71st Street. Let that process. All right, now, they're honoring these hip-hop legends while, shining a spotlight on Miami's role, in the music industry. But not everyone's feeling it. People are critical, saying renaming the streets won't fix the bigger issues like rising crime or poverty in those areas. And then there's another debate that says street names should be named after pop culture icons when there are so many civil rights leaders and historical figures who haven't been honored yet. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Do you think Miami is celebrating culture in a meaningful way, or just throwing a feel-good gesture without really addressing any problems? I'd love to hear what y'all got to say about that. So there you have it. From Kyrie Irving calling out media bias to Charles Barkley losing that Nike shoe deal. You got Russell Simmons' legal drama pulling Oprah into it. You got Jay-Z still putting things in play, or didn't put things in play to distance himself from Diddy. And finally, you got Miami renaming its streets after hip-hop icons. Now, it all ties back to one thing, and you could say it all ties back to one person. Who controls culture and who gets to tell this story? I want to hear from y'all, man. What y'all think about these stories? Is Kyrie making a valid point? We got any valid points? Or was Nike wrong for canceling Barkley, man? And how you feel about Miami honoring its hip-hop street, legends with street names? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And I got some coming up. I got some real special coming up for all y'all. So until the next time, man, y'all stay curious.